The No Money But Dreams podcast is for those millennial dreamers
who try to be in the top 1%.
It doesn't matter what we've achieved.
We wake up every morning with the mindset that we're still broke,
We welcome you on our journey in search of that home run.
which can change everything.
Everything?
Everything.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of NMDB, the No Money But Dreams podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic which is very, very dear to the both of us, and that is grit. So, everybody knows what it takes to succeed, within reason, but very few people actually do it. Now, why is that? All right? Everyone has grit, and everyone knows what it entails. And everyone's been in a situation where they've had to persevere or they've had to show that they have to stand their ground to achieve something. Everyone tells the stories of Cristiano Ronaldo and LeBron James and quotes them in I don't know what post on Instagram or whatever it is. But do we really take the time to consider how much effort has been put in by these sort of exceptional individuals to get to where they are? And so many people say, yes, you can make it, but they don't actually talk about what it takes, the time, the mental strain, etc., that you need to actually succeed.
Yep. And today we're going to talk about grit and our kind of journey and where you have displayed grit in your life before, where I think I've...
And I think grind also is similar to grit. So there's grit and grind. I think
Yeah.
we're going to be using both of these terms.
Yeah. And I want to start by quoting Angela Duckworth, which did an amazing book on grit. And I'm going to read this. Grit is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Instead, grit is about having what some researchers call an ultimate concern, a goal you care so much about that it organizes and gives meaning to almost everything that you do. And grit is holding steadfast to that goal, even when you fall down.
And I think that's the most critical part that we've observed in our journey so far, individually and together, is how do you deal with falling down? How do you get back up and get back onto the road towards your goal when sometimes everything seems like it's pushing you away or not working?
Yeah. And that's a good start into kind of my story and where I want to start. I'm 5'11". Yeah.
Stand up. No, I'm joking.
I'm 5'11", and I ended up being in the Bundesliga a professional basketball player in Germany. And, you know, for me, it was from 6 to 23 years old, it was my life. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything else. All I cared about was basketball. And I never missed a training. I played against people that were much more talented than I was for a good 10 years. And all I was doing is eating shit. And at every level, there were better people in my team. I was always tasked with guarding the best player of the opposing team. And I never had anything to show for it. I didn't get selected to county teams or to the national team or anything like that. All I was doing was showing up every single day, try to improve. And then when I was 15, 16, I kind of could see that if I continued doing this, I potentially would have a shot. No one ever told me.
A shot at what? Being in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, being a pro. And no one ever told me, and I didn't believe it myself, but I never missed a training. And I kept showing up. And this was really what, when it got to it, paid off. Because, you know, half of making anything in life is to show up. And I'm not more talented in anything that I do in life than any other person, but my effort level and my grind is bigger than what other people do. And that's how I ended up there. What's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind or the beginning of your story where you showed grit?
I think the showing up element is really important, and if you don't show up, then you can never take advantage of any opportunity or anything coming your way. For me, I think grit and grind, obviously, as an entrepreneur, is slightly different than I know you're talking about when you were younger in sports, but I'm going to now fast forward to being an entrepreneur and showing grit and grind is you don't actually have to go to work. Even though all your friends maybe utilize that to be like, you don't actually have to go, like, come do this. I don't have to go. I go because it's a necessity and because I'm passionate and I love what I'm doing. But if I don't show up every single day and try and figure out how I'm going to make enough money to pay the salaries at the end of the month, I'm in a really, really dark space, dark place. So I think that's where showing up becomes really important when you have to be your own boss. But another thing which I have struggled with, obviously, being an entrepreneur, is going against the grain. Not necessarily, like, we left university, left my master's, I went to Africa and started my own business with a friend of mine.
Which is still the craziest thing that I've ever heard. Everyone is trying to get jobs in the city and you just leave and go to Africa.
Benin and Nigeria, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us what you encountered there. I mean, it just sounds crazy.
I think the main point which brings value to this discussion is how many different things I tried within a 3 to 4 year period to make money. Yeah, pivoting each and every time. The first time I went there was to do above ground fuel stations, which actually, you laugh, but this was like 7 years ago or something like that. And now these same fuel stations, they're everywhere in Abu Dhabi. So I like to think that I was
ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I was ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any in Africa right now. We also tried to do different businesses with LPG. So how could you get cooking gas to rural areas? We tried to raise money from the banks and other.
Didn't work. Where did you pivot next?
Then we pivoted next. We did housing for Ericsson. So Ericsson had a massive contract to upgrade the 2G network to 3G or something like that. And they needed to house all their technicians and their engineers. So we set up a housing for them in Cotonou. This is in Benin. And then after that, pivoted and did the one business which was the most lucrative out of all of them. And that was importing apples, not phones, guys, apples, from South Africa into Nigeria.
What? You did petrol stations, housing, and then apples.
Yeah. Then I left and got into burgers.
Yeah, so then you leave Africa, you fall flat on your face.
Yep.
Didn't work out.
No.
You come back, and then what happens?
And then I had to start from scratch.
You started from scratch.
Reinvent myself.
Yeah, and then what do you do next?
Well, I identified an opportunity in the F&B sector, primarily in burgers, and started Burger 28.
Yeah, but this just sounds very, very easy. Tell us a little bit more. You come back, and then how long does it take you to actually open the first burger joint?
Well, it took around a year and a bit, to be honest with you, which is way longer than anticipated and cost me much more than I anticipated as well.
So for a year, you come back, everyone else is now kind of like late 20s, enjoying corporate life, progressing in their career, and you come back and you're just staring at a blank sheet of paper.
Pretty much. And I think that's where the grit comes in, and having to deal with people judging you or criticizing you for your decisions and saying, that's completely fine. I have no issue. Like I know the value in myself and I know that I'm going to create something amazing, but I just need to show up every day. I need to look at that blank piece of paper, no matter how long it takes to come up with what the idea is, what's the plan, and how to execute on whatever that plan is something which I know I have. And when I am in really, really tough situations or in struggle situations, instead of running away and hiding, no, I just go to the front and fight. And that's the same thing that happened during the pandemic. Just, I know we're moving around timescales, but I can remember when I knew that we were going to go into lockdown, there would only be deliveries. And instead of saying like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And going home and like crying about it or whatever, because the potential for your business to just completely fall apart and for you to go bankrupt is kind of high in that situation.
I mean, we saw so many different restaurants close.
100%. Right? And I had never, ever experienced that in my life. No, the first thing I did at that point, as soon as we opened, I went to the store and I sat in the store, ironically, with a blank piece of paper and was there so that not only did I want all my staff to know like, okay, everything is fine, we're going to find a solution, but also for myself. I had to show up and say, you know what, we're going to find a solution for this. And no matter what it is, we're going to succeed. And thank God we are where we are today and everything is all right. But those were times where you had to have the grit. you had to show up, similar to what you were talking about your basketball example.
So let me take it back a little bit to, a couple of other examples that I want to give is, I was in the Bundesliga. I had, quote unquote, made it. And I decided to move to England, move to the UK.
Why did you want to move to the UK?
So I'd been working with my dad for a good 8 years in our business. And I saw how he was running the business. And I want to learn how people run professional businesses. So that's why I decided to study business and to do it in English, because I didn't want to be limited to just the German job market. I wanted to work wherever I wanted to. So I moved to England. Back then, my English was a lot worse than it was now.
Was it really?
Yes,
did you speak like that?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
That's how it was. And I tried.
Wunderbar.
I tried. I came to the UK. I didn't know anyone. And
so you basically had to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it literally, first year was really tough, starting from scratch. Second year, it got better. By the end of second year, I kind of saw, like, if I put everything into it, I might actually get a first-class degree. And to put this into perspective, I had been shit at school.
You were studying business, correct?
Yes, I had been shit at school in Germany. I ended up with 3 C's, which means I was a failure. And I had never had any success in academics. Here, for the first time, because I was doing something that I actually enjoyed, I saw that I could make something of me. And I took the decision to stop playing basketball, which, a couple of years before, anyone would have said...
Completely out of the question.
Yeah, exactly. It would have never happened.
And you didn't know English, but you were studying in English in England, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you had to learn from scratch pretty much.
Exactly. And then in third year, I stopped playing basketball and put everything into my academics and trying to chase that first-class degree, because I thought if I get a good degree, maybe I get a better job. Now, at that point, when I say I put everything into it, I had 3 jobs at the same time. So in my third year, I wrote my thesis. I had 3 jobs at the same time. I paid for my tuition fees. I paid for all my life because I was too proud to ask my dad or to depend on anyone else. So that grind of doing 15 basketball games as a referee all across London.
Where did you referee?
I actually refereed at Alex's school where he boarded in the UK just a few years before, which was a funny point. But yeah, we didn't know each other at that point. Yeah, so I was a referee. I was a basketball coach at a private school, and I was mixing these bespoke drinks for endurance athletes, which, complete random set of jobs that I was doing. But I just had to do it to try and provide for myself, try and pay for the tuition fees. And now I don't have any loan to pay off. I didn't have to ask anyone for money. And that teaches you a lot when you're young. So, yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of people in university. Okay, some people, their parents were able to pay. Some people obviously had to take student loans. But I agree with you on the point that if you are going to take the student loan, for example, you might as well work to pay it off at the same time. That shows so much value and so much grit inside of you to be able to have the energy to not only study, but then also generate the money on the side and go to work. I mean, that was something obviously for me, which I thought was really noble of you. And
it was just 24 hours grind, man.
Yeah. But that sets you up for where you are today. That sets you up for your ability to be knocked down, get back up, stay focused on the goal, reinvent yourself without anything else affecting, like a horse with blinkers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it's now completely normal that, when you fall down, you just get back up. And I think a lot of people forget this. As a child, you fall down, you get back up, and it's normal. No one says anything. But as an adult, and this is, also culturally something that, in a lot of cultures, when you are a failure or when you're failing, you get stigmatized, right? Yeah. And I feel that I get completely, I don't get fazed by that at all. If I fail, I fail. It's not a problem. and I'll just get back up and try again.
I also feel in our society that we have a lot of pressure on social media from like your peer group about like what's your job title or what are you doing or what you know, like where did you go on holiday. So not living up to those expectations of your peers is seen as failure.
Yeah.
And that is wrong, because at the end of the day, if you're not willing to try and fail like we have both done in our lives, then there's no way that you're going to be able to grow, number one. There's no way that you're going to be able to chase your dreams. And that just makes everything so much more boring than it can be, to be honest with you.
This failure aspect, if you're not failing, then you're not pushing hard enough.
100%.
You know, for me, yeah, okay, so I moved from Germany to the UK and I started from scratch again. A couple years in, you know, I had 2 entry-level kind of jobs. Then I moved out here. I started, you know, in Dubai in 2000. I came December 14 in 2014. And I
That's
started.
lucky. I was going to be like, my God, you know the dates, and then it's 14. If you forget, you're going to forget that one then.
Yeah, but it's basically, you know, I started from scratch again. I left country, I moved country.
You had to reinvent yourself again.
From scratch, and I didn't know anyone. Okay, I came with the company. I didn't have it as hard as.
And that takes courage, man. That takes courage and an end goal in order to make that decision, because that's out of your comfort zone, 100%.
It was massively out of my comfort zone.
Exactly, like learning how to speak English and study in English and work in English and do everything when you move to England.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what, you know, what my story is or what your story is, but I think everyone can relate to the fact that, you know, if you're not scared of failure and you blink this out and kind of just focus on where you want to get to, and you apply grit and you grind every single day to try and show up to get to your goal of where you want to get to. It doesn't matter what the outside factors are, you're going to get there at some point. Like, I know if I put 10 years of hard work into it, I'm going to be in a much better place than if I hadn't shown up.
100%. And I can relate to this reinventing yourself point. When I was 14, I decided to move to boarding school from here. I was born and raised in Abu Dhabi, and I wanted to go to boarding school in England. And I remember getting there and everyone being like, oh God, why did your parents send you here? And I said, no, I actually chose to come here. Like, why would you choose to come to boarding school? Because I wanted the challenge. I wanted to experience different people. I wanted to see how another part of the world operates and works. And obviously in the beginning, it's scary. It puts you outside of your comfort zone. But it was honestly, my mother asked, because my mother felt a bit bad, me actually leaving the home. And she used to ask me all the time, like, is this the right decision? And I said 100%. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today unless I had actually gone to boarding school. And I made so many good friends and amazing experiences.
Bro, I had to lock him into the kitchen room for 2 days and convince him that he lets me go to the UK, because I was a failure in school, bro. I had very
He was like,
grades.
you're gonna go there and what's
exactly
gonna happen?
Like you don't speak English well. You can't even get a good degree in Germany. Like, why would I let you go there? Yeah. And I knew that it was the right thing for me to do, and I just had to do it. And you know, it was the right decision for me in the end.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
so ahead. Maybe we can maybe we can bring it together. We've talked a little bit individually. We can bring it together of kind of the grind and the journey that we have been on for the last kind of 5 years. If you have been listening to any of the other episodes, you will know a little bit about it. But maybe we can give like a high level summary of what we have done together and what the grind has looked like for us so far.
I think the first point which I want to bring in.
No, one thing before I forget. I don't write everything down like you, but I remember like when you were talking about your boarding school and stuff, like people from the outside may look at you and say, yeah, no, whatever, man. The guy has money and he's went to boarding school. And yeah, and that's how I saw you when you were in university.
You judged me.
Yeah, you were young and you were blowing money right, left, and center and all of that. Yeah, but what I want to get across here, and that's really why I value you so much, and that's why we get along so much, is that, you know, you left university, you went to Africa, and you fucking tried for 4 years to make something happen. It didn't work. You come back, you sit again for a year at home, try to make something happen, and now you've got all the success that you deserve, but you're working harder than anyone that I know.
Thank you, man.
And that that really inspires me to work harder and for me to get better. And that is a quality, that grind that you display every single day is what got us very close and got us grinding together. And, it would be odd to think about it like from the outside. We're so different, right? I'm a second generation immigrant. You're an expat child. Like you went to boarding school, I went to a public school. We had completely different upbringings, but what combines us is this hustle mentality, and
100%.
This is why we came up with the name of the podcast of No Money But Dreams.
Yeah,
we wake up, okay, we're successful in both our
respective
fields.
Yeah,
exactly. But we wake up and we know that we're still broke. Doesn't matter what's in the bank. All that we care about is we've got dreams, we're very ambitious, and 100%. We're trying to get there. And that's how, it will be very interesting now speaking about what has happened in our last kind of 4 or 5 years since that first lunch that we had, where we sat together and said, look, we gotta do something here. We gotta do something together, and we gotta push it to the next level.
100%. Just on that point, thank you. Obviously, I see you and admire you for having that drive, even though you're in such a comfortable situation with your job. And I haven't seen this in a lot of people. And I find it really difficult to relate with people to have the same kind of drive and same kind of hustle that I have. And this determination, even when you're not really sure what the dream is. We don't know what our actual dream is, but we just know we're not there yet.
Let's talk about how this whole thing started. So the first thing after this lunch, so we wanted to do something together. The first thing that we do is
first we meet in LPM together in Dubai.
Yeah.
And obviously crypto back then, I don't know what year was it.
It's like 16, 17.
2016, 2017. Crypto was hot. So we were talking about it. We're like, listen, let's get involved in this and figure out.
Man, at the time I bought a Bitcoin at 2000 and I had 100 Ethereums from like $75.
Jesus Christ.
And I obviously sold them way too early. Yeah, I made money, but I sold them way too early.
That's for another life-changing opportunity episode.
Yeah, exactly. No, but what happened? Like, what's the first thing that we do?
Well, the first thing that we did was go to Kuwait.
We went out of all places. I had never been to Kuwait.
Me neither. I had been, actually.
Out of all places, we go to Kuwait and we meet this German guy that had been mining crypto since 2010. So he had been sitting on so much crypto and he was looking at ways to kind of like sell it. And he was teaching other people about it. And we just want to like understand and see if we can get involved somehow.
Yeah, it was a full seminar. Like, this is what...
that
was hilarious.
And we leave Kuwait. The next thing that we do is we end up in Malta at some crypto conference. And we were the idiots laughing at everyone.
Yeah, we're like, oh my God, these guys, like, what the hell are they doing? They're such geeks. I'm sure they're all multi-millionaires now.
Exactly. Like, we didn't have the last laugh on that one.
Then there was obviously Driven.
Yeah, Driven comes into the picture. We do a startup together, 6 months. We fly back and forth
to LA, meet with VCs, get offered the chance to actually fund the project, but we had to move there. Figured out we wouldn't actually be able to move there in like a 2-week notice period. Yeah. Came back here. Invested in Burger 28 together.
So hold on. I think we need to talk about this a little bit more because, these are questions that you get and that I get all the time. Why am I involved in Burger 28 and why did you let me get involved? And I think that's an interesting kind of story. I didn't come to Alex and say, hey, Alex, here, take my money and make me more money. That's not how it started. I looked at, how can I deliver value to this? And I know I came to his soft opening of the first shop and I had his burger and I said, man, this burger is amazing. It's the Arbab. To this day, it's still my favorite. And I thought he would be very successful selling this burger, right? 2-3 years down the line and we come together under completely different circumstances. And I thought, I can't help him on product development. I don't know anything about marketing. He's much better than me than this. Where can I find something? And I looked at him and I said, look, man, you gotta make more money out of your brand. You're investing so much into social media and you only have 2 outlets in Abu Dhabi where you can actually monetize. You gotta expand. And I didn't leave it at that. for the next 3 months over the summer, every Thursday, he would pick me up, and for 8 hours a day, we would drive.
I think 10 hours.
We would drive the whole country to find a location. It's not here in the Middle East or in Dubai or in the UAE specific. You can't just go on a website and find all the places advertised.
Especially for commercial shops and things like that. You actually need to go there and you need to see the to let sign with the mobile phone number and give them a call.
And sometimes there's no number and you have to find
you have to get out, you have to meet the Natour or the watchman, you have to ask him, then he's like, I don't know, you're not speaking the same language. You need to follow him somewhere else. He gives you another. It's literally like a maze.
So it was 8 hours a day for a good 3 months to just try and find a location. We found a location in
Alain, but it didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but we kept looking, and we found. You had shown me this place in Khawanij, which was very interesting, and you said, "Man, if we could find a place like
exactly like this, then this is the perfect place to find it."
Exactly.
I get a phone call one day, yo, I found a place. I'm like, I'm coming.
Yeah, and we found it in Dubai. It's next to a petrol station. I would have never thought, if I hadn't got the intel from you, what a good location looked like, what to look for.
Yeah.
And we found a very good location, and that's how, okay, I found the location. And then what else did I contribute? Try and help with kitchen equipment, looking at financials.
The whole time, man. And I think the biggest 2 points there is, number one, what is interesting is that you looked at the business and you said, how can I deliver you value? And you found a way to say, look, this is how I'm going to deliver you value. You know, and it was value.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, looking at getting involved in any opportunity. Maybe you don't necessarily have skill A, B, and C, but it doesn't mean you can't provide in D, E, and F.
Yeah, and there's so many people that approach you and me and whatever opportunity we are chasing, where they're saying, oh, can I just give you money?
Exactly, but nobody just wants money.
And money you can get from anywhere.
100%.
So if you really want to get involved...
And it's not just that. Like, people want to give you money and then just like, where's my... Like, are you going to pay me? Like, when do I get... Like, how does it work? You know what I mean? It's like, no, you need to deliver value. You need to give back to somebody for them to want you to be on board. And a lot of people don't get it. And another thing is, you don't want to start doing business with somebody who you know is not going to show up. You don't want to start doing business with somebody who you know doesn't have grit and doesn't have the grind that it takes to make it and the grind it takes.
I mean, then the shop was 5 months delayed and we opened a month before COVID hits.
Jesus, man.
And the first months, I was there every day after work.
Yeah.
You drove down every day from Abu Dhabi, and we were in that shop doing everything from handing out flyers to flipping burgers to serving people to closing up shop. And then 90% sales down in COVID.
COVID hit.
Right? And if you're not with the right partner at that point, you're really in the shits.
100%.
And I guess the other thing that you appreciate that I found out over, the last couple of years that we've been together, I don't get into your business. No. It's still your business. I know what I'm good at. I know where I can help, but I also know, if we're talking about product or marketing or anything like that, I can't add anything.
Which is important at the end of the day. If you are going to enter into a business and you are going to invest in something, you need to be investing in the person, and you need to believe in them 100% and their capability. And getting involved and nitpicking and micromanaging doesn't help anyone at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, let's wrap it up.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to the conclusions.
So, I think the first point is that you got to show up. You need to be very passionate about what you're doing, and you need to be able to stick to your goal even if you get knocked down.
Yeah, it's back to that quote that we had at the beginning from Angela, where it doesn't matter what happens, you got to get back up and you got to have the grit to pursue whatever you're setting out to pursue.
And in doing that, you need to be comfortable with pivoting or reinventing yourself. Like, for example, you were obsessed with basketball, but knew that it reached a certain point that you had to say, you know what?
I was just not talented enough. I couldn't make that a career. And once you're on the other side and you realize how... the guy in front of me had played in the NBA the year before. Like there was light years of talent between us, and it doesn't
But
matter.
you had to know when to cut your losses.
Exactly, and
That's important.
And the same thing for you when you were in Africa and you fell on your face. You knew, well, I got to come back and got to go and try something else.
100%, and that's not easy, especially now with the pressure of social media or your friends or your family, as you were talking about earlier, that failure is not acceptable. I feel a lot of people don't know how to deal with it, and you should be proud of failure. Everyone should be proud of failure.
The last point here, I think there's no blueprint for you or me. Yeah,
No.
We know that we've got big dreams and we want to achieve them, and it doesn't matter. Like, we don't know where it's going to take us yet. What matters is that you wake up every day and you show up and you try and make something of yourself, try and get to the next kind of level.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, guys, who made it all the way to the end. We hope you took something valuable from this podcast about grit and grind and reinventing yourself and showing up, and see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.